Here we are. It's our first evening in Tel Aviv, and there's a storm of brewing. And we're by the water. It's beautiful, and all these historic buildings. But we're thinking maybe tomorrow, if the sun's shining, it might be a better time to come because holy cow, it's windy. It's windy for sure. Oh, there's Tel Aviv. Oh wait, where am I doing? And you can see we're in the old city. This is the new city behind us, those tall buildings. But here we are. We're so happy to be here, and we're hungry. We're gonna go get something to eat. Good morning. So here we are, first morning in Tel Aviv, and it's raining. If you can tell, I'm walking down this alleyway. I'm looking for coffee from my friends, and hopefully I'll find it. I used Google Maps, but the first place I went was actually a grocery store. So either I'm bad at Google Maps or Google Maps thinks that instant coffee from the grocery store is coffee. So I'm hoping to find it. And hopefully I'll show you a great picture of some delicious coffee for our first morning in Tel Aviv. So we're at the Java Port, which has so much history, so much rich history. But look at the weather's not exactly beautiful, and look at the waves. It is just crazy. The waves are just crashing in like crazy. It's not what we expected. We thought it was going to be warm and whatever, and now it's wet and whatever it is. But it's really cool. So here's the port. We're about to go into the fish market, so that'll be kind of cool. Maybe a little stinky, perhaps, but I bet it's cool. Anyway, now I'm all wet. We're still in Caesarea, and I just wanted to give you this overview. The bathhouses, the palace, it's where gladiators fought, the Hippodrome, the theater, everything in this area. Can you imagine during the time of Jesus what it would have looked like? It's just an amazing place. It is a beautiful day in Israel. So we're staying right on the Sea of Galilee. Right across from where we are is Capernaum, and we're going to be going there today on a bus. But this is the Sea of Galilee. Oh my gosh, I never thought in my lifetime I would see it in person, but here it is. It's bigger than I thought. It's quite large, actually, not like Lake Michigan large, but it's big. And there's all kinds of things going on around it. Where we are, it's really hilly. It's really beautiful. There's a lot of agricultural stuff going on up here. The resort that we're staying in is so cool. It's called the Ramat Resort. Ramat, I believe, is the name of the city, the name of the area. And it has all these little cabins. I try to do this and not make it seasick oh, here, I can just move to the side. So we're staying in these little cabins, which are beautiful. Like in our room, we've got a big room that has like a living area and a little kitchenish area and a couple of beds and a huge TV. And then there's a whole nother room with bunk beds in it. That's my room. And the bathroom's huge, and we have a sauna, and we have a hot tub all right in our room. Like it's really beautiful. And the food's been delicious. All of the great food has really been great. But the significance of today is a little overwhelming because we're going to Jesus' town, what he claimed as his home, and where he was and walked and met several of the disciples, including Matthew, who on The Chosen happens to be one of my favorite people on The Chosen, but the real people, the real disciples, that he met there that came out of that area. It's amazing. And then when they were sent to the other side, that's where I am right now. The other side. This is the other side of the Sea of Galilee. So much happened here and so much significance. I am so excited for what's going to happen today and what we're going to see. But I wanted to introduce you to this beautiful place and overlooking the Sea of Galilee. And then more ruins, and you can see the wall of the city. And right out here, I want to make you seasick, is the Sea of Galilee right here. So this was so this is a really special spot. This is where Peter on the Sea of Galilee jumped in with all of his clothes in, couldn't wait to see Jesus. And then Jesus asked him 3 times, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" What a special moment and what a special spot. I'm standing at a pretty significant spot. This area actually was dedicated to the god Pan, who was all about nature and whatever. And so there are ruins here from when it was a pagan area where they did sacrifices. Actually, way up on top there is where they would throw down their sacrifices to land on the rocks to kill them, which is a lovely thought. But this is where Jesus brought his disciples and where he said to them, "Who is it that you say I am?" And when Peter said, "You are God, you're the Messiah," that was a huge moment. That was just a really big moment, and that happened right here. This is one of the spots that is the beginning of the Jordan River, that feeds the Jordan River, that goes all the way down the coast, pretty much, of Israel. But to think that Jesus walked this far, this is a long ways from where we were, a long, long way. It took about an hour in a bus to drive it. So I'm not even sure how you walk it. Like, it would be long. And that he chose this spot to make a new proclamation and get rid of the old proclamation, the pagan proclamation that was here, and instead make a new proclamation. And it's when he kind of came out that, yeah, he is the Messiah. And and Jesus said, Peter, Peter, which means rock, you are a rock, and on this rock I build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail. Well, there's an area right here that it was believed during that time was actually the entrance into hell. So right here, and then the gates of hell will not prevail. It's amazing how the text just comes to life. So I'm going to show you over here. You can see that there's a cave over there and an entrance sort of next to it. That's where they believed it, the gates of hell, that was the entrance to hell. And so the words are so different when they're in the context of where things were said and why they were said and the real meaning behind it. And I just think it's so cool to see, but then be open to other things that may be the exact interpretations of some of the things that we've learned over the years. There's more to it, there's deeper meanings. And I love that. I love having the opportunity to know that there's more. And believe it or not, I don't know it all. So I love learning more. This is, uh, again, just a super cool place. I am on the top of a hill. If you can see behind me, over across on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, that's where Jesus hung out. That's where the fishermen were. That's where so much of Jesus' life took place, is over on that side of the water. This was the other side. There's a couple times that Jesus came over to the other side, like the time that he came to cast out the demons from the man and cast them into the pigs, who ended up running off the cliff. And that man then went and talked to the people of his city. So when Jesus was on the other side, at one point in time, he was in an area, Magdala, where all the fish get brought to and then put on salt to be preserved. And that's where the salt was. And Jesus talked about, you are the salt of the earth. And he picked that spot to do it. And he also said from there, pointing exactly to where I am right now, that if a city on a hill cannot be hidden, how can your light be hidden? Let your light shine among men. How significant is that? So this whole area that was pagan, that was against God in every way, changed completely. And Jesus recognized that. It's so cool. And there it is. And now I'm on the other side. I am on the top of Mount Carmel. It's so cool. There's a monastery and there's a cool Catholic church. There's Carmelite sisters. It's just really cool, great grounds. And of course, this is where Elijah was, right here where I am. And I'm going to show you a spot that is Armageddon, where many believe Armageddon will actually take place. It's different than what I thought it would look like, because it's just sort of this mound in between two areas. There's like an industrial area, another industrial area, some housing with this mound in between. So I'm going to show it to you.
No.
Hopefully you'll be able to see it. But see how there's housing with the red roofs, and then to the left of that, white sort of industrial looking buildings? It's that mound. The mound in between. That is Armageddon. Who would have thought? So this is beautiful. The view from up here is beautiful. Every direction that you look, the Mediterranean is that way. And the opposite of that, then, coming around, all the way around, Mount Hermon is that way. And they say on a good day, on a beautiful day, you can see the Mediterranean from here, and you can see Mount Hermon. So it's just a beautiful area with the valley below, so plush, so green. And here we are, Mount Carmel. So behind me is Nazareth, as you can see. And we have, we have visitors, Sheila and Mary. Welcome to the video. This is Mount Precipice. So below us, over on this side, is Nazareth. So this is Mary and Joseph's hometown, where Jesus spent his childhood. And it was just a little village when Jesus was part of it. And now it is a big, sprawling city, as you can see. It goes quite a long ways. So here we are at the place where Jesus went into Nazareth and went into his synagogue and read a passage and got everybody there riled up and upset. And he even warned them that he knew he was not going to be accepted there by them. But they didn't accept him in his hometown. And so they wanted to throw him off a cliff up here, which is sad to throw anybody off a cliff, but to throw Jesus off a cliff, that's pretty bad. And so they came up here with him, but then the Bible says that he just walked through them. Like he just went on his way, kind of ignored them, I guess, and went to a much humbler place where he was more accepted. And how sad for Nazareth. But this is where it is, right here, where we are. I am in the old city of Jerusalem, in the old city of Jerusalem, and right behind me is the Western Wall. So these stones of the Western Wall are stones that Jesus would have touched. These are stones that are the original from way back in the day. And just on the other side of the Western Wall is the Temple Mount. So the temple was completely destroyed, and now the Dome of the Rock, a very, very holy site for Muslims, is on it, along with a mosque. But the Dome of the Rock is directly over the foundation of the temple. And so this is as close as Jewish people, Christian people, can come to the temple, because Christians and Jewish people are not allowed into the Dome of the Rock, not allowed into the mosque next to the Dome of the Rock. And so this is as close as you can come. And so people come here every day and pray. And they have men praying on one side, and all of the men need to have their heads covered. So they've got head covers here for men if they didn't bring them with them. And all the women then pray on the other side. And it's beautiful. I don't know if you can hear it or not. I'm going to try to get some video of the actual prayers, because it's absolutely beautiful when you listen, when you hear. Oh, no, gotta say. Sorry. Darling little boy. But it's incredible. Like, just hearing the prayers, it just hits your heart. It like gets down deep inside, and you just feel it in your soul. It's the cry of people just reaching out to God, and it's beautiful and so spiritual and so holy and just so in touch, just knowing that this is what God wants for us, to reach out to him, and he reaches right back. And so at the wall right now, there are Christians and Jewish people praying together. And again, for the Jewish people, this is as close as they can get to the Holy of Holies, to the holiest place. And by the way, the foundation is on the top of Mount Moriah. And I don't know if you remember or not, but that's where Abraham was instructed to go to sacrifice his son that he waited forever for, his son Isaac. And so it is like the Holy of Holies. It's the holiest place in the Jewish religion, really, in the Christian religion. Like it's just an incredible spot right here, right behind this wall. And over the years, the Muslims have had control of it for, I think, 1,300 years or something like that. And there was a short time when the Crusades came and they took it over. But basically, the Muslims have had it. And there's a story in the Quran about Abraham. And the story about Abraham there is that it was Ishmael that was to be sacrificed. I find that very interesting. And this is also the spot that the Muslims believe that Muhammad went up to have a conversation with Moses, went up to heaven to have a conversation with Moses, and came back down. So the spot right on the other side of the wall. And this wall during Jesus' time would have been, if you look at the big blocks, the wide blocks, my understanding is 3 times the wider blocks high is what this wall would have been. So it's actually much lower than it was in Jesus' time. But the rocks that remain, the rocks that are here, are the rocks that were here when Jesus was here. And it's pretty cool, I gotta say. And I'm gonna go pray because I'm at the wall and that's what you do. And I'm excited to go do that. Okay, so from this vantage point, you can see the old city. You can see the city walls and you can see the Rock of the Dome. And the Rock of the Dome is gold. You'll see it right in the middle. And it is on the Temple Mount. So the flat ground there around it, that's the Temple Mount. So here I'm going to show you. You can see the walls around the old city. They go up and they go around.
Take your time, but you got 1 minute.
There it is, right there. I am in the old city of Jerusalem, in the old city. Behind me is the biggest menorah ever, and they're keeping it under a dome because they're preparing for the coming of the Messiah. And so they want to be prepared, so they have it under a dome so that the menorah is ready to go, and they keep it there because they're waiting for the Messiah to come. And then behind it here is a big synagogue, a great big beautiful synagogue. And around me are old buildings and old walkways, and it's so cool. There are alleyway after alleyway. Like, I could get lost in here. I'm surprised I haven't gotten lost in here, but I haven't yet. I found my way, but it is bustling and wonderful. We met some kids that were getting in the middle of their bar mitzvah. We danced with them. That was so fun. But there are food courts and all kinds of things, but there's flea market and shops and everything that you can possibly imagine within the walls of the old city where we are right now. And so this is Old City Jerusalem, which is a fraction of the size, only part of the size of what it was during Jesus' time. But this is the place. These are streets that people we know, not personally what kind of, but people that we know their name, would have walked on. So more on this a little later, but I am in Qumran. So behind me is the Dead Sea. It's huge. And then look over here. The white rocks you see are where water comes down. So not the greatest angle, but this is the Dead Sea behind us. And the salt concentration in the Dead Sea is so high that you just float. You just float. So you can't go in forward. If you go in forward, you're likely to tumble. If you drop back too quickly, you're likely to tumble, because when they say you float, you float. I mean, you are so buoyant. You're buoyant anyway in salt water, right? Like when you go in the ocean. This is beyond the ocean, like just beyond. And it's the Dead Sea. And they're losing like a meter of the Dead Sea every year. So it used to be much larger than it is. And it's going down in size way too rapidly. And they're trying to do something about it. Hopefully they'll be successful. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I guess we'll all wait and see. But you just go in and you float. And then on the bottom, there's like the richest mud. And you rub that mud all over your skin. And when you come out, you feel like you have just been exfoliated with the most expensive exfoliant and then oil rubbed into your skin. It is the greatest feeling. Now, you don't want to go in there if you've got a cut, because it will be hurting, and you sure don't want to drink it. You don't want to get any in your eyes. I got a little bit in my mouth, and I was spitting and spitting. It was terrible, but not that terrible because it was so cool and the shower felt good. And this is a great place to come. It was just so fun. And look, there it is, the Dead Sea. And what you're seeing on the other side of the Dead Sea, that's Jordan. That's the country of Jordan. That's where I'm going to next. I'm very excited about that, but a couple days away because I get to spend more time here. But Jordan's going to be amazing. And just across the way is where we just were, and Qumran, where they found all these scrolls and found scrolls. Oh my gosh, that's like a whole video all by itself. What the significance is and what they found and how much they found and what's going on with that. But the sun is beating down on me because this is desert, desert, desert. And what I heard is, I live in Michigan, and I heard that right now there's like an ice warning because it's cold there. So sorry, Michiganders. But it is hot here, and man, that vitamin D feels pretty good. But the significance of this area just goes on and on and on. What a great place to come. It is so cool. The Dead Sea behind me, the mountains in front of me. I'll turn and show you, except really all you'll see is buses. So I guess that's kind of boring. Anyway, it's a fantastic opportunity that I'm so grateful for. If you ever get an opportunity, you really need to come. It's so cool. So behind me is what they believe inspired Psalm 23. Though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I fear no evil. For thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And so on and so on. Just such a beautiful psalm. And I'm going to show you what it looks like because, holy cow, you can see why it would be the inspiration for that psalm. I'll show it to you. Hopefully you can see it behind me, but it is incredible. And to this direction is Jericho. And so you can see, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil. So what they believe is that David was fleeing Saul and heading toward Jericho, and this was the way he had to go. And you can see why it would be called the Valley of Death. And he went all the way through this to Jericho. We are in the Judean desert, and if you can see behind me, the sheep, the sheep. How cool is that? Look at all of them. Look at, the shepherd is up ahead, leading from the front, and they just keep coming and coming. How cool. I am about to walk into Crusader Church that was built during the Crusader time. It's 1,000 years old, and it's one of the only ones left completely intact. It's really cool from the outside, as you can see. As you can see, I need help with my camera work, but it is cool. And we're gonna go inside because something is going on in here, and it looks like it's stunning. But let me be quiet so you can hear this. This is the pools of Bethesda. From John 5. Behind me, up here, it is commonly thought that that is the spot that Pontius Pilate brought Jesus out and said to the crowd, which were the leadership, the Jewish leadership, "What do you want me to do with him? I find no fault in him." And they said, crucify him. He says he's the king of the Jews. And then he brought Jesus back in and said, who are you? You know, where do I find fault in you? What is wrong? And brought him out again to the crowd. And the crowd again said, crucify him. And the crowd was the Jewish leadership. The Jewish leadership that believed that he was a threat. And even though the majority of people just loved Jesus and believed him and trusted him and walked beside him, the leadership at the time, the Sanhedrin, were the opposite. They were threatened by him and didn't want him around. I am in the city of Bethlehem and just went through the most beautiful church where a lot of different denominations worship together, which is the way it should be, in my opinion. It's awesome. And Pope Francis visited here, and he's very popular, not just in the Catholic Church, but other people too appreciate Pope Francis and what he stands for, the way he lives, that he's not living this lush Pope life, but he's humble and he says the greatest things. And so this is the vehicle that he was in. Hopefully you were able to see it, but it wasn't bulletproof because he just has confidence that God will take care of him. Although now I think he does travel mostly in a bulletproof car, the Pope-mobile. But this is what he said when he was here. He said, the time has come to put an end to the situation which has become increasingly unacceptable. Both sides need to make sacrifices to create two states with internationally recognized borders for the good of their own people. All about unity. All about unity. People are people all over the world. We should all be all about unity and just love everybody. And I think Pope Francis loves everybody. In Bethlehem, and kind of a funny thing. So there's, nativity stuff. There's all kinds of cool stuff around. But wait till you see this. They have something special. This was my husband's first car. A blue Volkswagen Beetle. And where do I find it? Bethlehem. It's probably the same one. I'm thinking it could be. Will be my story. My God is fighting for me. My God is fighting for me. My God is fighting for me. Yes, this will be my story. My God is fighting for me. Yes, this will be our story. My God is fighting for me.